Greetings, fellow humans. Katrina here. Quick disclaimer, I'm a professional. I'm not your professional. Nothing I'm about to say should be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement. That is it. Disclaimer over. So today I thought I'd talk about what I don't know about folie à deux, and I do believe that I am saying that incorrectly. I do not speak French. So today I thought I'd talk about an old and some would say outdated diagnosis. That's what that is. This comes from France, 1860. A dude named Jules Beilarger, totally saying that incorrectly as well. So folie à deux means madness shared by two. That was what they originally diagnosed it as back then. Now we're going to fast forward. They called it many things throughout the years, and different people had different variations of the same thing. But then in the 1940s, this guy named Gralnick studied 103 cases of folie à deux. And the reason they were case studies is because there wasn't a shit ton of research, apparently, because it is such an infrequent diagnosis that there wasn't enough people to study. At least that was my understanding from the article. So this guy, like I said, Gralnick, definitely not pronouncing that right either, but it's a little bit easier than the other. He defined it as a psychiatric entity characterized by the transfer of delusions from one person to one or several others who have a close association with the primarily affected person. So the four types I'm going to tell you about first have a French word that I will attempt to pronounce, and then an English word which I can pronounce. So those four are, in English, imposed psychosis, simultaneous psychosis, communicated psychosis, and induced psychosis. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into each one of these. The first one, folie imposee, that's the imposed psychosis. It was described by these guys, Lasegue and Falret, in 1877. And the delusions are transferred from an individual with psychosis to an individual without psychosis in an intimate relationship. The delusions in the induced individual soon disappear once the two are completely separated. The second type, folie simultanee, saying that way wrong, in English, simultaneous psychosis. It was described by Regis in 1880. Both partners share the psychosis simultaneously. They both have risk factors through long social interactions that predispose them to develop this condition. There are reports of sharing genetic risk factors among siblings. Third, we've got another one that's unpronounceable, folie communiquée, communicated psychosis. So this was described by a guy named Marandon de Montyel in 1881. There's a lot of names in here that can be Googled. And this type is similar to folie imposée. However, the delusion in the secondary partner occurs after a really long period of resistance. Also, the secondary partner will maintain the delusion even after separation from their partner. Fourth, we've got folie induite, or induced psychosis. This was described by an old dead dude named Lehman in 1850. So in this type, new delusions are assumed by an individual with psychosis who is being influenced by another individual with psychosis. So believe it or not, this did absolutely make it into the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It was first listed in the third edition, so the DSM-3, as shared paranoid disorder. And in the next edition, the DSM-4, that was the one that I learned out of when I went to school. No, not the DSM-4. I learned out of the DSM-4-TR. But this was originally in the DSM-4. The term changed to shared psychotic disorder. So it was first in the DSM-3 as shared paranoia disorder, then in the DSM-4 as shared psychotic disorder. And in the latest edition, the DSM-5, it was removed as a separate disease identity. So now it's included in the section under other specified schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders. And that is in the DSM-5, which is more of the clinicians of the counselor variety. There's also this big book called the ICD-10. I could not tell you what the ICD stands for. I do not know. But in the ICD-10, this is listed as induced delusional disorder. Okay, because I like to dive a little bit deeper sometimes, I went ahead and pulled out my copy of the DSM-5 and I looked up other specified schizophrenia spectrum, and I found an example of a presentation that can be specified using other specified designation. So I'll read it to you now. Delusional symptoms in partner of individual with delusional disorder. In the context of a relationship, the delusional material from the dominant partner provides content for delusional belief by the individual who may not otherwise entirely meet criteria for delusional disorder. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I really wonder where in the real world that these diagnoses come in, because I do not know anyone who has worked with these. And I myself haven't worked with anyone with this particular disorder. So, like I said, it was interesting. I hope you found it educational and or amusing. No news today, but if you like what you heard and you want to support the show, click the button on the website. I'll talk at y'all again soon, and I appreciate your existence.